How's it going, guys? My name is Zach with the Movie Castle, and today we're going to be talking about Phantom on the Scan. This is a 5-issue miniseries from Cullen Bunn and Mark Torres, and this was put out by Aftershock Comics. So 5 issues in one trade paperback there, collecting the whole thing. Let's go ahead and bring it closer to us and take a look at this nice cover. This book really does love to play with fun out there colors and a really nice art style. So you see the semi-realistic sketching of the face and then the upside down screaming skull, all played in this nice purple and orange with a little bit of yellow. A really fun cover, and you know, being a sci-fi horror geek, I couldn't help but pick this one up. The back cover, we get more of the nice art, and 20 years ago, a comet fell to Earth, and it talks about how Cullen Bunn wrote Dark Ark, Unholy Grail, and Piecemeal, and the illustrator did Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Judge Dredd, and The Shrinking Man. It says collects issues 1 through 5, but we also get the recommended price at the bottom of $16.99, which is a fair price for 5 issues. Let's crack this thing open and we can take a look at the full credit line there. Phantom on the Scan with this cool picture of the bad guy, and then there's the credits. Cullen Bunn as the writer, Mark Torres as the artist, and David Sharp as the letterer. And then you see Mark Torres, the interior artist, actually did the original covers. Now, this story is one of those fun sci-fi people with special powers being chased by a government agency. Think things like Firestarter or Scanners. And by the way, about referencing Scanners, that is not just me pulling out that reference. If we flip to the back to the alternate cover gallery, we can see this alternate cover here, which is a play on the Scanners poster, but with the main character of the comic there. So that is pretty fun. And overall, I really like this book. It's a pretty fast-moving group of people, don't know what's going on. They have a limited time until they die. They all have psychic powers, and they have to figure out where these powers came from, why they're all the way they are, and figure out what's going on with the mysterious government agency. All the while, one of their own is also tracking them down. It's pretty cool. I mean, that being said, it's a little light on characterization. A lot of the people that are psychics are kind of similar, you know. They're all a little bit addicted to their power with a bit of a dark past, you know, and they're all kind of mopey. You know, they are still different characters, but they're relatively similar, and by jumping straight into the action, you know, I kind of feel like if this was 6 issues and you gave us a slower opening and gave us more time to understand each character, that could have helped the characterization issue a little bit. But other than that, if you guys like the on the run with psychic powers, the mysterious evil agencies, these might actually, I think I said government agency, it might actually be the private sector, but whatever. But if you know that type of story and that's something you're really into, definitely a lot to like here, and it's a pretty fun book, and also with pretty good art. I feel a lot of times when people try to do horror books, they make the art too clean, and I do like the art to have kind of a grungy feel behind it, and that really does work out pretty well with this. The artwork in here is pretty experimental and over the top, and it's all the better for it. So it's fun, especially if you're into this particular genre, and you know, not the biggest, most over-the-top, revolutionary thing ever, and like I said, I wish we got to know these characters a little better, but it's still a pretty fun story, and I do like the subgenre. Anyway, we get the title page here with the lady in that pink art style, and then we get an introduction from the writer, and it talks about how I'm not writing this, I'm thinking it. I'm thinking it, and I'm using my thoughts to put it into the keyboard, and then it goes through the whole thing, gets published, and it's coming into your head, and you're interpreting it through your thoughts. So a little bit of a John dies at the end style opening, but he talks about brains and telekinesis and how he's fascinated with it, but also that this story didn't originally start as a comic. This story originally started as a role-playing game he wrote for his friends to play, and he modified it in order to make it into a comic book, so the story's not exactly the same as the game. And when they point that out, yeah, it really makes sense. It really, when you know this going in, it does feel like a role-playing game, you know. Now, all that being said, let's go ahead and dive right in. I'm not going to be doing any major spoilers, but I do want to say my piece on a few plot points and make sure you guys have a basic understanding as to what the story's about. But I'll be trying to stick to the first half of the book here. But anyway, there's chapter 1, and I do like that they keep the chapter breaks, and you get the night the comet fell. So 1, a title, and the pink version of the cover, and then when you flip open, there'll be the more colorful version of the cover. But we open up with 20 years ago, the night the comet fell to Earth, and you see a bunch of people in situations that are going to send them to the hospital. So there's someone in a car wreck, there's a wife leaving to the hospital with her husband going to have a baby, and then there's a kid resting in the hospital, a lady who is by the car unconscious. So a lot of people having pretty bad days the night this comet fell. And then we get the origin story of our main character. He was with a group of kids when the ice broke and he almost drowned, and sadly one of his friends was not so lucky. So he drowned and one of his friends died, and we wake up years later and he is in distress and talking to someone just off screen, and we eventually see who he's talking to is the ghost of the little boy that drowned all those years ago. And he's sort of the medium, the thing that he has to use to access his psychic powers is this kid who died a long time ago, and as the years goes on, he barely remembers the living version of this kid, and he's becoming more and more obscured, more and more dead looking, and I really do like the sort of fuzzy feel this ghost has, and he starts to look a little worse as the comic goes on. But anyway, we cut to other people around the world having problems with their psychic powers. It's not going too well, and he goes to his therapist, and he starts to realize the therapist is hiding something, so he has the little kid with his psychic powers reach into the therapist's mind, and he finds that he's with some organization that knows of people like him, and the little kid starts picking names out of the guy's brain. And we see these people living their average, ordinary, everyday lives, and he knows that they all have psychic powers in some sense. So he reaches out. They actually say the kid could have drawn more names, but he didn't want to kill the guy. So he reaches out psychically and has them all meet at this diner. And you get to see the group of strangers there relatively apprehensive. You know, Ben, Ashton, Gerald, and the one that came in earlier, Jessica. Now, they're all apprehensive. They don't really know what's going on. But Ben, when he tries to use his psychic powers, is in massive amount of pain, and his head blows up. You know how Scanners was one of the influences of this. So his head blows up, but it doesn't just blow up. A monster crawls out of his head and scurries away. So Scanners mixed with Alien there. That is nuts. And right off the bat, this is such a big, crazy, over-the-top concept. It really does hook you, and I do love when comics get crazy like this. So they know that they're in a bit of danger here. One of their friends' heads exploded, and they're worried that it might happen to all of them. Now, they each have kind of different psychic powers. The blonde girl, when the lady's about to call the police that owns the diner, says, forget we were ever here. So she has a form of mind control, and you get to see a few of the other people in what their superpowers are. One of them can astral project, and then the redheaded lady doesn't like technology because it's very loud and gets in her head, but when they need information, she can hold a phone and sort of use the internet as her superpower, where she can go in and quite quickly find information, you know, and that will greatly help them along their quest. So different superpowers for each one, you know. They're not all with the dead kid, which, by the way, here's another picture. The dead kid kind of drifts in and out and can look very, very creepy sometimes. Sometimes he looks a little better than this. But anyway, another one of their problems is they're trying to find the doctors, the people who are involved with making them the way they are and figuring out who their past is. But this one doctor, he's trying to get away in his car. It crashes into a tree, and all of a sudden, we see that one of the other kids, one of the other psychics, is going to hunt and kill this guy. So all the shrapnel, he just psychically pushes it into these people, and there he is, Victor. So yeah, one of their own is destroying the path that they need to figure out who they are and what's going on, you know, and eventually they will find one of the doctors, but you know who's going to show up, you know, so it's trying to get information while one of their own starts to crumble it, and they're not able to see it. Now, it's a pretty fun story, you know, psychics pitted against one of their own. He's, of course, the biggest and the strongest. And, you know, it's really fun, that chase, that uncovering the mystery. And like I said, the characters aren't the strongest, but also a lot of that mystery, I think it's issue 3, a lot of that mystery comes out all in one big piece, and I'm like, okay, I get what's going on here. And the characters are still kind of like, I don't know exactly what's going on. I'm like, I basically know. So there's one point when the mystery comes out a little too fast and you start to really understand a lot of it. But when they get to the end, it does lead to something bigger and crazier than I would have thought. And the big reveal at the end, when they finally find where they all came from, it does lead to a pretty cool sci-fi horror moment. So yeah, if you like this whole government conspiracy thing, which is always pretty fun, government conspiracy, on the run, road trip, figuring out where you came from and what's going on, and the ever-present idea that your head could explode and a monster would come out of it, that's pretty cool. You know, so it is a story we've kind of seen before, and you know, it's not perfect, but that being said, head-exploding alien monsters, you got to love this, you know? So, yeah, very much like Alien mixed with Scanners for that big hook, and yeah, I really did enjoy this book, you know? So, that being said, pretty fun, even though it's not, you know, like I said, it's not the best thing ever, it's still a pretty cool conspiracy sci-fi horror story, and I really did like it. I'll definitely try to check out more Aftershock comics. Aftershock, I haven't really got too big into them yet. I kind of found out about them not too long ago, so if you guys have any good Aftershock recommendations, or even any good Cullen Bunn recommendations, I'd always be willing to look those up. So let me know if you guys have any comic recommendations. Anyway, to everyone who's watched so far, Thank you for watching. To everyone who's liked and subscribed, thank you. You really are helping the channel out. I'll leave a relevant playlist on the bottom. If you guys want to see more, you can click there and see more. Anyway, have a good day. I'll see you guys again very, very soon. Relevant playlist on the bottom. Have a good day now.